Hello and welcome to episode 19 of our RPG tutorials. Got kind of a longer one for you guys today. So what I ended up doing is I had to break this up into two. I was hoping to do this in one episode, but everything takes longer than I expected to, even when we're just porting stuff from previous projects and editing them. But to speed it up a little bit, I decided to just bring skill and SkillButton directly over from our last project instead of writing them here on the tutorial. If you want to see fine details into why I did what I did there, feel free to check those episodes out. But we are going to add those first. Then we're going to create Fireball CS, which is going to be a mage spell. And we are going to then add the functions to deal with targeting to square grid. Then we're going to have to integrate it throughout the project. And then we're going to test it. And, it's going to take a little bit of time. So if this is a bit long, I apologize, but I'll get through it about as fast as I can. If you guys could take a second to hit the like button and comment and whatnot, that would be huge for me. I really do appreciate it if you can take that 1 second to go do those things. If you can take 5 seconds to comment, 10 seconds to comment, it really helps me. We're actually getting close to monetization, and I'd really love to get pushed over the top. If there's anything you guys can do to help, that would be awesome. All right, well, let's jump in. We're going to start with the file editions. As I mentioned, these will be provided to you in the materials down in the description. So we're just going to add both of them into unit for right now, and then we'll move them around. Whoops. Because I don't want to come back to the screen. So we'll just dump them in unit. We're going to make a quick change because they have the wrong namespace. They have the prompt namespace as opposed to the actual namespace. So make that change real quick. Inside of unit, we're going to now add a folder for skills. We're going to drop the skill button into the skills. Yes, it's fine. Move, please. And then no. Do not adjust the namespaces. Okay, and then we're going to add a folder for mage. And we are going to create fireball.cs. Add. Okay. So at this point, we are ready to start programming. Oops. Removed a little too much there. Okay, let's grab our includes. Close them up so they're nice and pretty. And then public. Fireball. And then fireball is a skill. And then we have public fireball. And then base. And then I gotta figure out what goes in there real fast. Let's see. Skill. It's just an owner. So let's just take this. Put it in here. And we have owner. Okay, so that gets us to a neutral point where our game builds. Double check our errors. Nothing's there. Great. Let's go over a quick couple differences from skill. So I removed the targeting image because we don't have that yet, and I'm not going to get to it right now. We're going to target slightly different here. I now pass in the square grid and a list of enemies instead of the entire player. We don't have another player in this version of the game. We did things a little different this time. Neither one is right or wrong. They have their different purposes. In this case, we need a list of whatever is an enemy to this character. In this case, we are a hero, but sometimes it'll be a mob that has a skill. So we are passing in the generic unit because we don't know if it's going to be heroes or mobs that's getting passed in here as the enemy of this owner of the skill. We also eventually will pass in friendlies, but we don't have friendlies yet, so we're not going to go through that. Targeting also passes grid and enemies instead of enemy player. Reset also has the grid in it, and I'll go over why that is when we go to deal with Fireball. Targeting is also taking in grid and enemies. So those are kind of the big differences there. In SkillButton, I just removed the slot stuff, I'm pretty sure. So commented those out. I think that's all I did here. I think I removed something in here. I don't remember what that was. Sorry, I should have taken notes and I didn't note it very well. I did leave these in on purpose so you could see them being removed, but I should have just commented this out to see it too. Okay, those are really our big differences between the two. Also, I'm sorry about the last tutorial. I forgot to make the text large. I did it here. Sometimes I just forget. Okay. The next thing we want to look at is we want to kind of flesh out Fireball a little bit. So our Fireball here is clearly quite blank. The things that we are going to need to handle in here are the reset, which we'll go over later, but we'll put it in now. Override it. Void reset. And then no, we will leave the base in for that one. We are going to need to do the targeting, so public override void targeting. In that one, we will also leave in the base. So those are our two major things that we've got to do here. Our targeting is going to require our grid to help us out. And the reason we're going to do that is because we need to ask the grid, hey, give me all of the grid slots within 3 of where I'm starting. So our range would be 3 in that case. You can make it whatever you want. You can do whatever you want on these kinds of things, but I'm using 3. And then that will return every slot that I need to be worried about, either for targeting or for actually, if I click on a slot, a grid location that is outside, that is not part of that list, then it clearly shouldn't be able to be clicked on if I do it right, which I will here. That is the goal here. That's where we're headed. So let's just do a quick pseudocode commenting. So first thing we're gonna do is we're going to find all slots that can be affected by the skill. We're also going to set bool done something equals false. So call it whatever you want. This is pretty descriptive. Has this thing done anything? If the answer is no, then we're going to continue on. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to say check for clicking on a mob, which will first check if clicked on valid slot. Okay. If nothing done, then show targeting area. So that's just going to be if not done something. And then in there, we will deal with our targeting. So we don't have this function to get from our grid yet. And then because we don't have a function to get from our grid yet, then we can't fill this out. So let's deal with that function from our grid. Do square grid. Grid location, square grid. There we go. Inside square grid, we are going to do, let's see, what did I call it? Give me a second. Get slots within range. That's what I called it. It's going to be up towards the top because it's get slots within, okay, public control void, get slots within range right now, because this is all we're using this for right now, this is going to have an expanding set of parameters, but we just need to know where we are and what the range is. So vector2 start loc and int range. Those are our two that we need. Here we're going to now say list of grid locations, and this is just going to be temp locs equals new. Okay. All right. We have a double for loop to deal with because that's the way our grid is set up, and then we need to return temp locs. Okay, in our first grid location, we're going to check the slots of x, so or the slots of I, but I less than slots count. So our first level of slots, it's a 2D array, so or list, but you get what I'm saying. Int j equals 0, j less than slots, I dot count j plus plus. Okay, so that's the setup for our double for. And then we have to decide, well, what is it that we are checking for really? And the answer to that is we want anything, in this case, to where the difference in x and the difference in y add up to 3. So the absolute value of the difference in x and the difference in y is less than or equal to 3, to be very specific. So what is 3 in this case? Well, 3 is range, so less than or equal to range, right? Done. And our left side is, again, the absolute values, right? So math.abs, and then plot, because that's going to be the x1, and then math.abs, and that's going to be our y1. What are we checking against? So we have our start loc dot x, and then we're going to subtract the slots, sorry, dot pose dot x. Oh, I forgot our pose is not set up properly, and so I will get to that in just a second. So this will be the difference. This is not set up, so we'll fix that in a minute. Okay, copy paste this into here, change out to y, and then if we're there, we say just temp locs dot add, and then we're adding the slot, which is this right here, and that's our function. Now, as I just mentioned, this is not set up correctly to do this. So our slot adding, which is right here, go to definition, is not doing, go to definition, this constructor. We're using this constructor. So one thing we have to fix is that we need the draw colors. But oh, I already did that in this version. Good, because I didn't have this in my prompt, so I did better. A lot of times I do this better the second time than I do the first time, so and I don't miss little things. So we actually need to use this constructor. Well, what's the difference? Well, we need to put pose at the beginning and f score at the end. F score is for traversing the grid via a star. So for right now, what we'll just do is we will set the f scores of each slot to 1, which means they're all the same. We'll have no difference on our a star mechanics. If you were to set some of these to 2, they would take twice as many points to traverse, and that would change your a star. So right now we'll just set that to 1, and then we need the position. So new vector2, and then here we want I, j. That's all. We just need to know the location that the slot is in. The slot needs to know about itself, and we did not do that, and therefore I couldn't reference it in the new code. So now we can, so that will work. Oh, oops. Up here. Get. There we go, and then I put void here. That is wrong. We need to return a list of grid location. There we go. All right, so that will give us what we're looking for. Why did we put this in the grid? Well, I mean, that's a pretty simple answer overall, and the answer is that this is probably going to be called almost some version of this is going to be called in most targeting in this game, if not all. So If we were to write it right here, put this whole blurb right here. First of all, it's harder to read, and second of all, I got to get that right every time, or I got to remember where to copy paste from, or I got to remember like all these things. Instead of, hey, it's a part of our grid. We can ask our grid now from any part of our game, show me all the spaces within this range. And that can be helpful for all kinds of things. And in this case, it's going to be helpful for targeting. So, all right, so let's get that implemented. So Fireball, we need to do, it's a list of grid locations, right? List of grid locations. And then this is just going to be targetable slots. Targetable slots. Equals new grid, because we've asked it in here. Dot get. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Equals grid dot get slots within range, and then we're going to use the owner's current location, and we are going to say 3, just like I said before. Now, you want this to go longer? Make a 4. You want it to go shorter? Make it a 2. Do what you want here, obviously, but this is just 3 seemed like an okay starting point to me. This step we are not going to really do, but I'm going to fill it out just a little bit so you can get an idea, and maybe you'll go ahead of me and get it implemented, but I just ran out of time. I spent over 3 hours prepping this already, and that's about as much as I can do in a week. Got kids, and they got soccer, and I've got work, and I do my best, but at some point I do reach my limits, and in this case I did. So this is just going to be a left click release, so we go to click on something that we can test through here. First, you would test these locations to see if you clicked on a location that was in there. And then second, you would see if there was a mob in that location. If you do those 2 things, then you'll be able to target the mob. And then once you've targeted a mob, then you can release the projectile that goes and hits them, and then you can do some damage, right? That would be the process. And that is what we will go do in the next episode. But I'm not getting into that right now on the actual code. That is the description of what I plan to do in the next episode, but it's not there yet. So, okay. So we need to loop through all of our targetable slots, and then we are going to set the color of them to a specific like reddish color. So like, oh, you can do damage here. I don't know. You can use whatever color you want. I am going to use reddish color. I equals 0, I less than targetable slots dot count. I plus plus, and then in here we want to say targetable slots I dot draw color equals new color, and I'm going to do it kind of a brightish red. It's not bright, but it's brightish because it has to kind of wash that green out a bit. All right, this is our targeting. We now need to consider our reset. So in our reset, we also are going to have our targeting locations. And you could cache this if you so chose to. We're not going to right now. I didn't have time to get through that. But we're just going to call it again. In a roguelike game, the processing is so minimal in general. You shouldn't have an issue whatsoever. And then we're going to take this here, and we are going to, so basically the exact same code, right? You just don't have it in an if and whatnot, and we're just going to set the color back to white. So color dot white. That's it. That's super simple. The next thing we need to do is we need to get these skills resetting, and that will take a second. So we are going to need to add active skills to unit to do this. So coming in here, we're going to have public skill active skill, And then we're going to need, in Hero, we're going to need to set these active skills. So, and our skill buttons and all kinds of that wonderful stuff. This is part of adding the pipeline. So Hero is going to have a set of skill buttons that we didn't otherwise have. I don't think Unit needs a skill button. It's Hero. So list skill button, and then that is just going to be skill buttons. Okay, and then this is public. Okay, there's our skill buttons. Our skills are going to be added directly to our characters right now. So we need mage. Let's see, mage, hero, heroes, mage. And in here, we're going to say, oh, we didn't get our list of skills. Units has our list of skills. Public list skill. Skills. Here's new skill list. Okay. So I have skills, and then in hero, no, sorry, mage, we need skills dot add new fireball, and then this, right? So we're passing in the mage himself into it to say that he's the owner of it. Very simple. And then we need to call a function that will set up our skill buttons. Well, we don't have that yet. Well, hero has our skill buttons, so we're going to put it in there. Hero set skill buttons, public virtual void set skill buttons, and then for, that's going to be I equals 0. Whoops. Int I equals, can't type today, guys, I'm sorry. Int I equals 0, I less than skills count I plus plus. We also need to do skill buttons dot clear because we're going to set all of them all at once. So, you know, let's make sure we do that right. And I did that wrong in my prompt, so let me go fix that. Okay. Okay, for all the skills, we're going to say skill buttons dot add new skill button. Hold on, my headset turned off because it's not being used. I don't like that. Okay, new skill button. New vector 2. So this is our image. This is our position. This is our size, new vector 2. So our dimensions, this is our frame, new vector 2. This is our function we're going to call for it, and this is what it is, skills I. So the skill button calls the skill, and the function that we're going to call to activate this thing is going to be right here. And it is going to be public virtual void set active ACTIVE skill with 2 L's. And in here is going to be object info, because that's how we pass things. Info, dyslexia taking over. Sorry, guys. And then we got to set that skill. So we're going to use that, put that in here. We'll flush that out in a second. What are we going to do? Right now we're just going to use a solid 2D. So 2D misc solid. Obviously you would, let's go into Fireball real fast. You would probably set an icon in Fireball, and then in when you're creating the skill button, you'd probably use the icon from skill here. But that's a future bit. So just giving you an idea of how to go about that. We're going to set the position to zeros so that we can control it dynamically. We are going to make it 40 by 40, make it whatever size you want. It's actually a little bit small at 40 by 40, but it's all right. And then we're only going to do a single frame each. If that had more frames in it, you would know that by the icon that you set up in skill in a perfect world. to set the icon, first we need to turn that into a skill. So skill temp skill equals skill, oops, info. So we're casting skill into a skill. It's casting info into a skill. Sorry. And then the first thing we want to do is we want to, this is clicking the button multiple times. So I am going to use this to toggle right now. This is probably not the end version of this, but this is the way to toggle it on and off right now. So I'm going to have a toggling here. So if active skill is equal null, or active skill dot equals, and that's going to be this temp skill, not equals the temp skill. Then we want to set the temp skill. We want to set active skill. Active skill equals skill. Well, that's not what I should be doing. That should just be temp skill. Okay, and then if, or else I should say. So this is the case where it's not null and it's equal to active skill. Then we're gonna free it up. So we're gonna say if. Oh, I forgot. I gotta save my packets because I need the grid. Notice I don't have grid here. And it'd be difficult to get it through. You could pass a packet into here, and then that could have grid in it, and then you could do it all. But I'm not gonna do that right now, because then I gotta pass packets in here, and then I need grid in here, and we can go down the list. It's just a big cascading thing. So what I'm gonna do for today, and again, I'm not sure that this is what this is unlikely to stay what it is. We're gonna save the last packet that we used. So public level unit packet, last packet, and then here we're gonna put it to null, last packet equal null, and then right at the top of update we're gonna say last packet equals packet. This is not great coding. Will it work for a whole lot of things? It will. But I'm already at, let's see, almost 28 minutes now, and I'm not done yet. So we're going to take a little bit of a shortcut here. This should all be passed through your functions properly. But this is one way that you can cache some data and have it accurate 99.9% of the time. This is likely to cause you a bug later because there will be a time in which your last packet is actually not accurate enough. In this case, the grid will be updating on its own. It shouldn't be an issue, I think. Let's look real fast. I didn't even look into this because I don't plan to keep the code this way forever. No, actually. So it is its own instance. And so there is a chance it will be out of date. Is what it is. In this case, it won't be. And the reason it won't be is because we're updating our hero, or our hero, but in this case it's unit that we're in here updating. And there's no way you are going to be able to, in the same frame, it would be impossible to select the button and then select where you want to click, or to select it again. So those would be two separate frames, so that your last packet will be accurate. But it is possible to not have that line up. So I'm just trying to explain that and why it's not the greatest code. But also it's going to save me 20 minutes. So I like that right now. Okay. So we create last packet there. We're going to use it, in hero. And in hero, right here, we're going to say if last packet is not equal null. This will remove a whole lot of the problem, but not all of it. We're going to say active skill.reset, and that reset is going to take in last packet.grid, and then we're going to say active skill equals null. Now again, this should be being passed in, but I've already explained all that. I'm not going to go through it again. Okay, that's our active skills, or activating our skills. The next thing we need to do that needed itself an override. No? I don't know what's happening there, but let's fix it real fast. Said it's unit process movement. Unit. Oh, I didn't make it high enough. Process movement. Virtual void. Should just be, oh, because it's void. Well, we shouldn't have a problem with that then, because they're different. I think it's crazy. It doesn't like override, it doesn't like anything in here, so I think it's wrong. This shouldn't have a problem. We're going to let it be. Apologies for even stopping there. I just saw it and figured I'd fix it, but I don't think there's anything wrong there. I think our compiler IDE is freaking out. Okay. Let's see. Hero. We need to go through and add active skill information. Sorry, got distracted with my cat there for a second. And so first things first, we have all of this code that we deal with for moving, right? We need to, if we have an active skill, we need to ignore all of that code. So let's do that. If, and then we'll just do the else right now also. All the way down to there. There we go. Those are all still mine. Good. Okay, so if we have an active skill, so active skill is not equal null, then we need to work on its targeting. So active skill dot targeting. Our targeting is done with offset. Packet dot grid, and then we need packet dot mobs, and then it's going to complain at us. Well, why is it complaining at us? Well, that's a packet of mobs, not a packet of units. So how do we convert that? Well, to list, and then inside here we say what we're converting it to, unit, and we're done. So converting the list of mobs to a list of units, we pass it through and we're good. So the next thing we need to do is be able to remove this when we're done. So if active skill dot done, we do active skill equals null. We do action taken. Oops. Action taken equals true. Okay, so we've reset our active skill, and we should actually reset that. Active skill dot reset, and that's going to take in our grid. So packet grid. Don't copy paste this code. This is completely accurate. This is our new grid. The other one technically isn't 100% accurate, so use this one. In this case, this here is accurate. Okay. That should get it to where it's working and we can see it and all of that fun stuff. Let's see if I missed anything here or if we're working. So We can't just hit go this time. We can hit play. Then we need to switch to a mage, and then we need to start it. I did not do the code to show the skill buttons. So in, I believe it's level, in level, we are going to need to draw skill buttons. Yes, in here. You might say, well, why are we drawing them in level? Well, because actually, updating a hero won't always have these things drawn to the screen. Because when a friendly hero is updating that we don't have control over, we don't want to see its skills necessarily. I mean, we could. You could want to see its skills. But in this case, we're not going to. So when do we want to do this? When turn is equal 0, that's our hero's turn. And hero dot turn done. So when it is the hero's turn and the hero's turn is not done. That is what we're doing. We're going to say for int I equals 0, I less than. Well, I also realized we didn't set the hero buttons to begin with, but we'll get to that in a second. I less than hero dot skill buttons dot count I plus plus, and then in here we're just saying hero dot skill buttons I dot draw, and then if you notice there's nothing in our draw anymore, so we have to make sure that we come up here and I think we probably want the whole if statement. We're going to go up to our update where we do hero updating, and we're going to paste that mamma jamma in there down at the bottom. But in here, that's fine, we can leave it. We're not protecting against any of that here, so let's just leave it there. We'll use the if, and then here we're going to use update. And then our update is going to need a new vector2, and our vertical is going to be simple. We're going to just say globals dot screen height minus 50. And then here we're going to say we're going to start at 50, so 50, 50, bottom left-hand side of the screen. 50 from the bottom and then 50 from the left, plus 50 times I. So however many skill buttons, so they just kind of list out to the side. Yes, eventually that can overflow. Yes, I'm not. The skills are 40 wide, and this is a space of 50, so there would be 10 pixels in between your skills. If you want that bigger or smaller, then you can raise or lower that. Okay, that will give us our skills. What I did forget here was to call the creating of the skill buttons. So set skill buttons, and we would be wise to go put that in warrior also, even though it doesn't have any skills, but it's a wise thing to do to come and add that. All right, so we create the skills, we add all the skill buttons, and we should be good now. I hope. But I didn't forget something else. Mage start game. Okay, there's our button. We're here. Show me. Yeah. Okay, so everything within 3 range. So this is 1, 2, 3. This is 1, 2, 3. This is 1, 2, 3. That is all correct in our range. If I toggle it, nice. Okay, that's what we're going for now. That is as far as we're going to get today. Already almost 40 minutes in. I know it was kind of a long one, guys, but it's that's what happens sometimes. All right, if you guys have made it this far, please, please, please like, comment, subscribe. It really matters, especially the comments. The likes also really help, and they literally take a second to do. I would really appreciate if you guys can help me push this over the top so that this can actually be monetized and I can do a little bit more fun stuff with this channel. I just I can't really be out of pocket on the channel. And if it starts to make its own money, then I can start doing things like giveaways, and I can start helping in a different fashion than I'm already helping. And it would be great. So if you guys can do all that, that'd be wonderful. And I will talk to you guys next time. Peace out, y'all.